update. 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter here. New Orleans is still up 13-9. And it's 16-11, I believe, in the Pittsburgh game. Is that right? Yeah, I think it's still 16-11. So no, it's 16-14. I'm sorry. Cleveland Browns just scored a field goal. There's 30 seconds left in the second quarter. So it's almost halftime in that one. And we're going to be joined live with Tim's joining us right now. Oh, here's the actual field goal. I love how the scorebot's before YouTube TV. So I know.
Hey, how you guys doing?
To look up. We're doing pretty good. It's good to see you, Tim.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys.
Yeah, unfortunately, Arun was at a not so great game. The scoreboard has said that it's a loss. I don't know if he'll be joining us in the second half. He's always welcome to give us his take if he still wants to, but obviously no pressure on that. Tim, I'm excited because your Ravens got another win, and this was an important one against a division foe. Let our listeners know about that game.
Yeah, it was an interesting game. I think the Ravens should have won by more than 3 points. There was a few weird plays, like a touchdown on special teams that Cincinnati was flagged for, and then it was picked up after, I don't know, the refs just decided to pick it up for some reason. But the Ravens look good on offense, a lot better than week one. I think Lamar just needed a little bit of time to get comfortable with the new offense and the new offensive coordinator. So they were definitely smoother. Not as many serious injuries this week, but OBJ got hurt a little bit, which wasn't great, but definitely awesome to get the win. I think Burrow's hurt again. He was gimpy at the end of that game. So I think for the Bengals, it was a crushing loss, divisional loss, plus a huge injury. So I think they are going to struggle for like at least the first half of the season, if not the whole season.
Tim, what do you think about John Harbaugh downplaying OBJ's injury, saying it's not that serious and that he'll most likely play next week?
It's hard to say. I've also heard like Schefter reporting that it's minor, so hopefully that means it's solid, but I guess it puts a little pressure on him to play this week. But the fact that he was on the sideline and didn't look too uncomfortable, I think is a good sign too, that it's not serious, and hopefully like 1 week at most, if not even he'll suit up this week, which would be awesome.
Oh no, I just got a scoring update that's not going to make Tim very happy. The Orioles are now tied in the bottom of the sixth inning.
Yeah, I got the game on here. 3-3 now.
Yeah, 3-3. So it's halftime. The Steelers lead the Browns 16-14. The Saints just scored a touchdown, I think, right? Is that right? Yeah. So it's a running play that he cut back and he got in the end zone. And it's 19-9 with extra point coming right now. So this could be potentially the nail in the coffin if they can make the extra point. Yeah, so it's 20-9. It's an 11-point game. You can still get a 2-point conversion. 3:14 left. It's going to be a tough road here for Carolina. Tim, what are some of your? Do you have any other thoughts about the Baltimore game?
No, I would just say it's great to see a win with all the injuries in the first game. A lot of people picked against them, so shows a lot of good depth. But next week it's the Indianapolis Colts, who aren't great, but they stole the Baltimore Colts back in the day. So there's always bad blood. And then it's the Browns after that. So the team that Baltimore stole.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird, right?
Steel Bowls, yeah.
So that's kind of a weird thing, but true. So let's go through the games from last week just real fast, and I'll let you guys chime in at the end any of the games you want to talk about. So the Eagles won 34-28 in their game. That was the Thursday night football game. The Packers lost to the Falcons 25-24. The Cincinnati, we just talked about it. They lost that game, and they were favored to win that one. And then the Chargers lost to the Titans, who a lot of people did not expect that game to go that way. Including myself. And then the Buccaneers were able to beat the Bears 27-17. The Bills beat the Raiders 38-10. The Seahawks beat the Lions, which I think was surprising for many. The Seahawks put up 37 points in Detroit. Then Kansas City did beat the Jaguars in a pretty low-scoring game, 17-9. But most people had sort of predicted that correctly. And then the Colts beat the Texans, which is no surprise. They were able to score 31 points. San Francisco was able to win 30-23 over the Rams, which most people predicted correctly. The New York Giants were down 21 points in the second half to the Arizona Cardinals and came back to win that game in regulation. So a pretty impressive comeback. They were down 20-0 after the first half. In fact, they were down basically 60-0 in points over the course of the first 6 quarters. But they were able to put up 31 points in that second half against Arizona. So I thought that was interesting. The Jets-Cowboys game, most people predicted the Cowboys to win that, especially without Aaron Rodgers for the Jets. They beat them 30-10. We've already discussed the Commanders game for the whole first hour of this show. They won that game 35-33. Thank goodness that 2-point conversion wasn't good. Miami Dolphins beat the Patriots 24-17. That leads us to these 2 games that are happening live right now. Again, the Saints are beating Carolina 20-9, and the Browns and Steelers game is now at halftime. And the Steelers lead the Browns 16-14. Tim, real quickly, we'll start off with the Monday Night Football games. I know that you have an interest in that Steelers-Browns game. Who do you want to win it? I guess a general question.
I mean, it's hard to pick because I do hate both teams, but I think I'm rooting for the Browns because the Steelers they never have a losing season. They're always there at the end or at least close. So although I think the Browns are a better team on paper and more of a threat, they're still the Browns. I think they'll ruin it themselves like they always do. But if the Steelers go 0-2, I don't know. Was there a crash there or something?
Yeah, Lily just literally rolled off the couch into a kid toy that's now making noise. So that was highly entertaining. I wish that any of these cameras were focused on that. I was the only person. And she did a spinning move, landed on her back, and then she was like, "What am I supposed to do now?" And then found a way, and in the little space between the couch and the table. So literally the size of her.
The little crack. Yeah, it was like radio sound effects when I was like, "Oh, I hope the Browns win." But yeah, so Browns narrowly, but I hate them both, and I feel bad for Nick Chubb and also for my fantasy team.
Yeah,
because that injury looks terrible, so bad, probably season ender. I would guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Another bad one for the league.
Yeah. I thought I had a Lily command that was supposed to make a dog appear, but I don't. Oh, there it is. Now it's randomly appearing.
Star of the show.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying out some new effects if you're watching live on Twitch. If you're not, then you're just really confused on what's happening. But I do appreciate you, Facebook, and our audio podcast listeners for tuning in as well. All right, Tim, thoughts on other games of week 2? Any games stand out to you that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I would say I thought it was pretty shocking that the Chiefs-Jaguars game was such a defensive struggle. I mean, I thought that the outcome wasn't surprising. Like you said, a lot of people pick Kansas City, but for their defense to do so well and hold the Jaguars, I think, to 9 points and no TDs, that's impressive. I thought a lot of people probably took the over in that game. And it was just a defensive struggle. Chiefs don't look great, but they went 1-1, averted disaster. So good for them. But I don't think they're quite as dominant this year. I mean, we'll see, but they don't look, too sharp yet.
Pat Mahomes just got a raise today.
Oh, interesting. I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
huge raise, restructure raise.
Wow.
So technically not a new deal, but more money.
Wow. That's crazy when you think about it. It
Yeah,
was already a pretty big contract.
He's going to get $210.6 million guaranteed from this year all the way to 2026, most ever in a 4-year span.
Wow.
He needs to, to keep up with the other recent QB contracts that were higher than his. He was still top 10, but he should be the number 1 or top 3. So,
yeah, for sure.
I think it just to, for his happiness, you got to help him out there. It probably helps the salary cap too.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. He's going to get paid. I do have to say that they have struggled a little bit without their offensive coordinator, and I think we've looked a lot better with that offensive coordinator. So it'll be interesting to see, how much was him and how much was, Patrick Mahomes. I'm hoping it was the coach, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, all Washington does.
So, but it'll be interesting to see nonetheless because they didn't score a heck of a lot of points these first 2 weeks. And there was some injuries on that team, so it's not all the coach, but it'll be interesting to see going forward how that affects things. I'm going to ask Champ, what are some of your thoughts? You can talk about either of these Monday Night Football games or any of the games from week 2.
I will say I really enjoyed the Sunday night game between Miami and New England. I was watching that on Peacock, and that was a really, really good game. Tua looked really good. It didn't help my fantasy chances, unfortunately, but looked really good. And the fact that for the first time in 22 years, the Patriots have started the season 0-2, but we all remember what happened that year that they started 0-2. It was in 2001, and they went on to win their first of many Super Bowls. So that could be a positive omen for Patriots fans, or it could turn out to be a curse for them. But the game was really, really good. Ramondre Stevenson is a really good runner, knowing that he doesn't have Damian Harris behind him, taking some of his carries. I think he's going to be a really talented back for that team, honestly. And Mac Jones has his moments, but with the only known weapon that he has in the wide receiving core of Juju Smith-Schuster, the passing game is going to be a point of contention for that team because of the fact that the only real threat they have is Juju Smith-Schuster, who hasn't been a threat really since he left Pittsburgh. So that's what's really going to be a very interesting thing for me is what the Patriots are going to do now down 0-2, having lost to a division rival in the second week of the season. But that was one of my favorite games that wasn't the Commanders that I really enjoyed watching, was that one because of how, really how good both teams played, with Miami being able to come out on top and to start the season off the way that they have.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that too, but I think Miami's been pretty good, lately. So I kind of was not surprised on that sense. I just think that Miami is the better team. But it's, of course, our old friend Joe Pace, Tim, was blamed the referees once again in that game.
Was it the fourth down spot, the challenge at the end?
I don't know.
That's
maybe.
the only thing.
That play was crazy. You talking about the one where they lateral to the offensive lineman and he was down short of the line of game?
Yeah, because they called it a first down and then it was overturned and it was close. But the Patriots also had a touchdown pass that was clearly illegal. It was the lineman was downfield too far. So it was a legal man downfield and it wasn't called. And they showed it over and over on the TV replays. So they got one and maybe they lost one. They didn't deserve to win the game. They were losing the entire way. It was not even really close until the fourth quarter, again, because they don't really get their act together until the fourth quarter.
I will say
year.
that Raheem Mostert touchdown run was beautiful. He found the hole, and next thing you know, it was speed kills. He found space and just took off. And it was like no one touched him at that point. I think he broke half of the tackle, and he was gone. And I was like, that's the Raheem Mostert that we saw in San Francisco that we should see now. That's the Raheem Mostert that Miami expected to have when they had him in the backfield, and he showed it on that touchdown run. And I think that when he's on his game and Tua's on his game with the receiving core, I think that Miami is a very dangerous team in that AFC East. They're a very dangerous team because they have the tools. They just need to be able to execute that.
Real quickly, an update since Carolina is driving here. It's 1st and goal. I think New Orleans may have just taken a timeout because they wanted to see what was set up. So minute 21 left in this game here. 1st and goal. They're still down 11 points. So interesting to see how they do this. Part of me wonders.
Onside kick for sure.
If they score. Yeah. So if you're trying to get the most amount of time remaining, sometimes I wonder if well, I guess it's 1st and goal. Maybe try for the end zone, but I would try to almost kick earlier. Because you need to already get the onside kick and leave yourself more time, to march down the field, right? Versus I don't know.
I guess you give it 2 plays because you're close, right?
Yeah, you're 1st and goal.
Don't burn 3 or 4 plays to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So again, minute 21. There's 15 on the play clock. I'm going to hold it here just because we're talking live NFL on this week and see if they can do it. So they have the ball. It's up and hits the pylon. And it's a touchdown. Great play. Great around. And it's 20-15 now. See if they get this 2-point conversion here. So some excitement might be left here.
Keeping it interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a 3.
That has been the theme of these first 2 weeks of the NFL season, is just keeping it interesting.
Yeah,
a lot of parity, a lot of sloppy close games.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't feel like there's a dominant force, in the NFL after week 2. It's not like I feel like, oh my God, they're the team that's gonna
probably the Cowboys, as much as it hurts to say, but
they've
won their 2 games a combined 70-10 or something stupid.
Wow, great play for the 2-point conversion. And he fakes it, he's going to run it. Then he sends the guy out wide so that way it looks like he's saying, I'm going to throw it to you, I'm going to throw it to you. People start to drift over, and then he comes across his body, which they always tell you not to do. But then perfect 2-point conversion right there. Cuts it to a 3-point game. And so the onside kick is going to be key here. And this is an interesting finish. Yeah,
that's why he was the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, it's a really good play. And
he had some good runs. He struggled first half, but runs definitely athletic.
I do feel bad for Anthony Richardson. His first 2 games, he left before the end of the first game against the Jaguars, and then he left during the second game with a concussion. So I feel bad for Anthony Richardson. Hopefully this doesn't derail his rookie season, having to deal with this the first 2 weeks of his NFL career.
Yes.
Do you know if he's playing this week or how badly he's hurt?
I think he's in concussion protocol at the moment. So that's something, if anybody owns him in fantasy, we'll have to keep an eye on that situation. I know that Devontae Adams was taken out of the game again with Vegas with a concussion, but just today he was already cleared and declared healthy to start on this upcoming week. So I find that to be very odd that he would be taken out with a concussion, but then he's immediately cleared. So we'll have to see how that goes and things like that. But another big injury was Saquon Barkley. Looks like he's going to miss multiple weeks with an injury.
3 or 4 weeks,
kind of,
I think.
Yeah, some kind of 3 or 4 weeks with an ankle sprain. So the Giants, who managed to make that comeback against Arizona, are going to be without their star tailback for a couple of weeks. So Danny Downs going to have to do something with all that money that he got paid. He's going to have to do something special in order to keep the Giants in play for the next couple of weeks, honestly.
So
Their schedule is tough too. They're not going to beat San Francisco on Thursday without Saquon, and then they have to play some good teams like Seattle, and it's a rough start for them.
oh, that was hard. So Hans team was in. Onside kick was not successful, although it was a pretty good kick, and there was a chance at it. And they were able to just run it. Their quarterback run for a first down, and so now the clock is ticking. Why did it stop though? I didn't think they had any timeouts left. Did they? Oh, they did have a timeout. I miss. I
I
hate
like
the way that ESPN lights it up. It's really hard to see that.
Yeah, I like what Tim just said about Seattle because Seattle had a really good game had a really like shootout type game against Detroit, but Geno Smith able to like really show something. Who would have thought that Geno Smith would have went from what happened to him in New York with the Jets to now to becoming comeback player of the year last year with Seattle and still playing at a high level this year, like already in the first two games. It's incredible how far Geno Smith has come in the NFL.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he just got unlucky in New York, both New York teams, because the first Jets, he got drafted. That was dysfunctional. He got into a fight in practice, got hurt, never had a good team around him. He played for the Giants a little bit, but he was replacing Eli, and that team was bad too. And the fans were never behind him because you're replacing a legend. So I think Seattle and Pete Carroll, that's what he needed. He needed to be able to sit for a while and learn, and then just get a better coach, better franchise. And I think I'm not saying he's gonna like do better than last year necessarily, but I think they made a good decision to keep him for not a crazy amount of money.
Yeah, and that's the ball game. They take a knee, and New Orleans escaped to the 20-17 victory, but it was definitely a very exciting ending for sure. All right. Well, I think we've unfortunately for Tim also. Well, the Orioles did just get a run back,
Yeah,
but
they're
they
coming
did give.
coming back. It's been a crazy inning, but 5-4. But there's first and third, 0 outs, so hopefully they at least tie it.
Yeah, for sure. Welcome in, Hez, for joining on Twitch chat. I love how many people have stopped by today on the show. It's been a lot of fun to be back live on Twitch. I know that last week it wasn't working, so I am excited for that. There is a Pokemon in chat if anyone wants to catch that. Yeah, it's been a fun night to talk about the two victories. I'm happy that the Ravens got the two wins, and so did the Commanders. Yeah, so Hez and I have been friends. He's a big Mike Shinoda fan on Twitch. So shout out to Mike Shinoda, the lead of my favorite band of all time, Linkin Park. Yeah, it's been good. I'm going to talk about a couple of other sports real fast, and get Tim's thoughts on them as well, and then we'll head out of here. Maybe even end a little bit early and go for a raid. The two sports we're going to talk about, obviously, are well, maybe not obviously to some people, is the WNBA. Our Mystics are in the playoffs. Unfortunately, the one playoff game they had was in New York, and they lost in New York. They started off strong. They outscored the Liberty 29-23 in the first quarter, but then the Liberty had a very good defensive second quarter, outscored them 23-13, and then outscored us 23-15 in the third, and then outscored us 21-18 in the fourth for what ended up being a 90-75 victory. Disappointing first game in New York. They'll have a second game in New York on Tuesday. If they're able to win that Tuesday, meaning tomorrow, if you're listening live, and if they are able to win that game, it extends that series to Friday, where a game would be in Washington. So it's interesting. As a lower seed, you'd get the last game, but you'd have to win one of the first two games on the road. So they have one more opportunity for that. Tim, any thoughts on the Mystics?
I just know that New York is dominant this year, so that's going to be tough to steal a game. But like you said, I kind of love that format where if you do steal a road game, you get rewarded with the very, very valuable game 3 at home. So I'm sure that happens pretty often, and it's a good way to cut down on travel. But I think it's the NBA is not going to do that. It's just would be too weird.
Right, for sure. It's interesting. Champ, do you have any thoughts on the Mystics?
Yeah, Elena Delle Donne, who's one of their stars, she struggled in this game, only scoring 11 points in 35 minutes, shooting 5 for 12 from the field and only making one free throw. So when she struggles, it's clear that this team can't get it together. Maisha Hines-Allen was the leading scorer, only playing 27 minutes and scoring 21 points with 8 rebounds, shooting 9 for 13 from the field. So if they can get Elena Delle Donne to make some shots, and if Maisha can have the same scoring output that she had on this game, I think they can steal a game this coming Tuesday and bring it back to the Sports and Entertainment Center in Southeast and possibly take the series and move on to the next one. But they definitely got to get more scoring, especially from Delle Donne as well as the rest of the team. So they got to get the scoring down and they got to play defense. I know New York's a very good team, but I think that they're still a beatable team.
For sure. I hope that they're able to find a way to extend the series and make it exciting. And we'll obviously break down one, if not both of those games next week. I like Hez says, Robbie looks like LP Rob with a beard and long hair. Coincidence? I think not. He has the Illuminati symbol. So that's pretty funny. Hez, if you want an extra Lincoln Park emote, if it is September, and I think my favorite emote that I've ever designed, or one of them, is a Lincoln Park one. A lot of LP fans across Twitch actually subbed to me just to have that one, which I think is kind of funny. We got a 50-yard field goal attempt here in the Steelers versus Browns game. The Steelers are up, and it is good for 50 yards. And extends the lead to 19-14 with 11:47 left in the third quarter here. Yeah, it's interesting. Let's talk a little bit. I'm testing some commands out here. So if we turn off the WNBA and we turn on MLS, it should, if everything is correct, make the let's see if this works. Why didn't that work? Should have brought up the soccer graphic, but I don't know why it did not. Hold on. Did I not have? Sorry, I was just trying to make it so that way soccer should show up, but I guess it not triggered that one yet. I thought I did have a DC United. Oh, here it is. I have to program that for next week. There you go. DC United. All right, so I'm trying a new thing where I can use commands to try to make the graphics automatically appear. So I'll have to build out the DC United one for next week. But it's been an interesting season so far in MLS. It's a really close. So if we talk about the table, which is what the standings are in soccer. DC United finds himself in the 9 spot. The 8 versus 9 will have a play-in game or series rather. And right now it's very close. The 8 spot has 36 points, which is Montreal, and we have 35 points, DC United. The Chicago Fire is in the 10th spot, is at 33. And the Fire and Montreal have both played one less game than us, and one win is 3 points. So it's still very close here. DC United actually played Charlotte to a draw. It's their second week in a row where they've had a tie 0-0 match. And ultimately, you do get a point for that, so it's not necessarily a bad result. I just thought it's interesting that they hasn't scored, but they also haven't let in a goal in 3 consecutive games, because the game before in September, they won 4-0. So it's a 4-0, 0-0, and 0-0 decisions. I do have to give them credit for a stout defense 3 weeks in a row there. They are going to play Atlanta on Wednesday in a Wednesday game. It's at home here in Washington at Audi Field at 7:30, and then they turn around and play the Red Bulls also at Audi Field on Saturday, September 23rd, also at 7:30. So 2 more games this week. It's a very busy week for them. And Atlanta and New York are some pretty big teams, but Atlanta is in the 6th spot. They have 45 points. Again, we have 35, so they're 10 above us. The Red Bulls are still mathematically still in it. They have 30 points, so it's a big game for them to try to creep back in. They've also played one less game than DC United. So some interesting stuff here in Conference East that we'll be tracking and giving a weekly update in. Tim, any thoughts on soccer?
I read a little bit about Wayne Rooney's comments after the last game. It was I just feel like, obviously he's a little frustrated that they haven't scored more, because I think, like you said, DC United sort of been on the playoff fringe the entire season, kind of up and down. They haven't really excelled at any point of the season or gone on any long losing streaks. The other thing that I noticed, unlike a lot of teams, obviously like Miami, DC United didn't spend a bunch of money this year and get any like huge international signings, so they're not necessarily going to have reinforcements come and save the season. So I think they just got to figure out something with the scheme to score more, because it's not like they have any, new players coming that are going to be like huge stars.
Right, for sure. Champ, I know you don't really follow DC United that much, but any thoughts just at all on that?
Yeah, you're right. I don't really follow the MLS, but from looking at the situation that DC United is in right now, they have a two-prong. They have a double, 2 options in terms of what they got to do with the season going forward. One is push forward to try to overtake Montreal and Nashville in order to get a guaranteed spot into the postseason. But the other option is they need to play their way. They need to play and hold off Chicago Fire to stay at least into a spot where they can get into that play-in series to try to get the AC to get into the postseason. People don't realize that when the MLS was first established, DC United was the original dynasty. They were the original dynasty. They won multiple MLS Cups during the inaugural period of the MLS, but then they kind of teetered off. But now, hopefully, they can start to push forward, having Wayne Rooney with the club and be able to do something with that. And so, hopefully, they're able to either push forward and get into a guaranteed playoff spot by overtaking Montreal and Nashville, or they can do as much as they can to hold off Chicago Fire and at least get a chance to have that play-in series with Montreal or Nashville if Montreal happens to overtake them, whoever is the AC, to be able to get into that series and then try to get that 8th seed.
Yeah, so little update on this game. I thought the Browns guy was in for the touchdown, but I guess some part of their body and the nose of the football hit the ground before they hit the plane over, and they said that he was down. And so they ended up being on the 1-yard line here, 1st and goal, and they were stopped on 1st and goal. Well, let's see how they do here on 2nd and goal. I am rooting for the Browns in this game, so I'm hoping that they're able to punch it in here, and they are able to punch it in for a big-time touchdown. And so yeah, they take a 20-19 lead here with an extra point, or potentially maybe go for 2 here. I think that they should, because right now they're up 1, and there's not much of a difference between 2 and 3. So
by the way, in this game, TJ Watt became the all-time Steelers leader in sacks with 81.5, passing James Harrison, who's a legend.
All right, they are going to go for 2-point attempt. That is a cool stat. Thank you, champ. All right, so they scorebot just ruined it for me, but it looks like the Browns are going to convert here. Let's see here. Oh, it's a running play. Interesting. He runs it in there and just chucks the ball at the the fans there. He's running angry. Anyway, takes a 3-point lead here. Now 10 minutes left in the third quarter, and an exciting game. So I'm happy that we've gotten 2 Monday Night Football games in today. I will just do a quick little update on how the baseball teams are doing. Let me see if this works. CMLB. See if I can swap it in. Oh, cool. It does work. All right. So, kind of a rough week for the Nationals. Going back to last Monday, the 11th, they were able to beat Pittsburgh 6-2. And then they would drop the next 5 games. So 3 to Pittsburgh, 5-1, 7-6, and 2-0, all in Pittsburgh. Then they go to Milwaukee, drop the first 2 games of that series, 5-3 and 9-5. They are able to win yesterday, 2-1, but unfortunately fall 6-1 against Chicago. So I'm not sure if Arun's still going to call in, but it's totally fine if he doesn't. I was hoping that we'd get a win and excited Arun, but I don't. I do think we'll probably end the podcast a little bit early, but I also wanted to give an update. I know Carol has always been all about DC sports, but I'm kind of rebranding us about DMV sports because I like the Ravens and the Orioles, and he's not here to stop me. So the
until the ban, then he's back.
Exactly. I will cover.
I feel like I need to be CP3 and stop you, but I'm not going to do it.
There
I don't have a ball head, so I can't do it.
All right. So Baltimore was able to win on September 11th, 11-5. They dropped the next 4 themselves, losing the next 2 to St. Louis, 5-2 and 1-0. Then they lost the first 2 to Tampa Bay, 4-3 and 7-1. And then they were able to win the last 2 against Tampa Bay, 8-0 and then 5-4. And they're playing Houston right now in a very close game that's 6-5 in the bottom of the 7th, it looks like. Tim, what are your thoughts on your Orioles?
Yeah, overall it was a tough week, but it ended well. The Tampa series was huge because that's the team that is in second place now in the AL East and just 2 games behind. So it was actually pretty, I would say a win to just split the series because the Orioles secured the season series against them. So they have the tiebreaker. And as you might know, this year in baseball, or the last couple years, if teams are tied, there's no longer a tiebreaker game. It just goes to head. So that's really important. And the Orioles clinched the playoffs. So that's good. But still 2 weeks left. They got to finish strong to win the division. Hopefully win 100 games. But yeah, it's the stretch run, a lot of tired players, but it's good to win the last 2 games.
Yeah, there's a Pokemon in chat. If anybody wants to catch a Rockruff, they can. I'm happy that the Browns just scored there. I've been to see how this game turns out, and but I'm happy that the Orioles did clinch a playoff spot. That's a big thing for them, and I hope that they're able to continue their good play through the playoffs. And Tim, I'll let you give any final thoughts that you want on any topic, and then I'm going to talk a little bit of wrestling with Champ before we go.
Oh, wait. We have a wild Arun sighting coming in.
Oh, he is coming in. All right.
There he is.
He made it in time. Arun, you can feel free to jump on in, and we can talk to you about the baseball or anything about the football you want to talk about as well. Oh, is he? I can see him.
I cede my time to Arun if he can.
He can join us.
My outro could be his intro if he's here.
Well, I'll let you. I was gonna say that you guys can. There he is.
There he is. Arun, I've missed you, my friend. How have you been, brother?
Yeah, I don't want to just bounce right away. I'll
yeah. You can stay. I didn't know Arun was gonna make it, so I retract our closing segment. So, Arun, I saw that it was a loss, but how was going to the game tonight?
It was 0-0 for a long time, but then the White Sox scored like 3 runs at back-to-back innings, so they had like 6 runs, and it was kind of a blowout, so kind of short. Me and my friend decided to leave early.
Yeah, I see that Clevenger had a 6-hit, 1-run complete game for the White Sox. I'm gonna tell you something. As someone who used to watch baseball a lot as a teenager, this new era is very rare to see a complete game from a starting pitcher. So that's absolutely incredible. But I hate that it came at the expense of the Nationals.
Yeah, in the first inning, C.J. Abrams and Lane Thomas had back-to-back hits, but C.J. Abrams was picked off on the first pitch or would immediately, so the Nats didn't get any runs out of that at all. So it's kind of, I mean, if they scored, maybe it would have been just getting 1 run would have built some momentum, but their lineup is pretty bad. Like Carter Keyboom's batting 210, and some other guys like batting 200. So it's like,
it seems like the Nats are just going through the motions right now.
Well, they're bringing up some players, and like this guy who's pitching today, he's like an international player apparently, and he pitches well every other game. And he pitched well for the first 4 innings of shutout ball, but couldn't maintain it. And he gave up I feel like he gave up like 2 hits in an inning, even when he was throwing a shutout. So it wasn't that good of a game.
Yeah. I mean, I've been pretty impressed with the rebuild, overall, for the Nats. I think they're doing better than I had expected. Arun, are you going to root for the Orioles here in the playoffs, you think? Or are you think you're going to continue to watch baseball in the playoffs, or you switch over to football?
Oh, yeah, I'll root for the Orioles. My friend, he hates the Orioles. It's kind of funny, but we grew up when there was just like the Orioles, and as long as they're competent, I'm fine with them. It's like, as long as they're not suspending their announcers for saying, I don't know, non-controversial things anyway. So I think they're fine. That they're I don't really.
I still thought that was the dumbest shit I ever seen in my life. I swear, I swear for you, that was dumb.
Arun,
yeah, very bad. They tried to hide it too. That was the worst part.
Yeah,
they're like, he wasn't suspended. He was suspended for something else. He wore the wrong shirt.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, I guess I'll switch gears a little bit real fast and ask you a general question about the NFL. What were some of your thoughts on the Commanders game, but also on the NFL Week 2?
Yeah, no comments on Monday night, but the Commanders coming back was pretty. I didn't expect it after the first couple of drives when they just gave up huge plays downfield to Mims, and I'm just not conditioned to a Washington team being able to come back. But how he kind of put it together. They ran the ball a lot more too with Robinson in the second half, and Russell Wilson didn't play well other than that Hail Mary play. And I think even when there could have been pass interference called on the 2-point conversion, but the play before was kind of they to even get in Hail Mary range. I thought that was an incomplete pass, and maybe I think just there's good karma going around with just Harris is the owner, Snyder being out. I think this feels like a different they seem to be getting more breaks maybe because of that.
So do you have a different feeling going into this Bills game, or do you still feel the same way you did at the beginning of the season about that one?
I think I probably still have Buffalo winning because week 1, the Bills inexplicably gave away a game to the Jets, and they seem to have put it together against the Raiders, and their defense may not be that impressive, but I think Allen it's going to be a different offensive test. I mean, well, Chase Young, I think he played better as the game progressed, but I still just think Buffalo should be favored to win the game, and but I definitely think Washington has more of a chance than before the season than I thought. To think they could definitely win, but I'm not I'm still probably going to pick the Bills.
For sure. Yeah, I think that seems universal so far, but
did Carol pick the
Well, the only person who picked us to win this
Carol
was
maybe would.
no, Sith was the one person in our pick'em that picked us to win next week. But I mean, Carroll might change his mind. I don't know. That's very possible.
But Sith probably picked like random losses too, though.
Right. He
I like
expected us
lost
to
to Arizona.
actually, he picked us to lose to this week. You know, going out to, which I can understand also because we have a terrible record.
Yeah, I did too, to be honest, just because it's Mile High. So.
Oh, Tina says I'll be at the game crying if Buffalo wins. Tina, if Buffalo wins, I want you to join us on Zoom next week and celebrate with us because we'll have Hurt on, and you've been a super fan on here. You don't have to have any analysis of the game, but I just want to hear your fandom in hour two. So if they win, you should think about coming on. So Tina is one of our VIPs here in chat and a very loyal subscriber to the channel, which I really appreciate. She just subbed for 13 months. And but yeah, I hope that you have that amazing experience. I also hope, we talked to Hurt earlier. He's having a rough week. I'm hoping that they can get a win for him as well. So it would really be a huge feather in our cap, especially going into Philadelphia, where I think it'd be very difficult to get a win. I know that Hurt mentioned earlier he'd rather the win against Philadelphia because it's a division rival if we get only one of these next two. But it'll be hopefully a really good game. I'm excited about it. Arun, any other thoughts about any of the other games from this past week?
Not really. Just like I guess nothing really jumped off the page other than like a Saquon Barkley injury. I guess like the Giants also struggle with the Cardinals. So, but they won.
I was surprised that they came back though. I mean, to come back, down 21 points, against any team in the NFL is hard. For sure.
Yeah, they scored more points, I think, in the second half than the Raiders have all season or something. I saw that stat.
Oof.
They also did. Yeah, the Giants didn't score until the second half. They went.
Yeah, they were down. Yeah,
without scoring,
and it was 60-0 too, in points for and against. Over the first 6 quarters. So talk about a turnaround for sure. So, but
I guess Kirk Cousins played better than I thought he would.
I thought so too. That was actually a pretty good game. I watched that game on Thursday night. I'm happy you brought that up because we hadn't talked about that one yet.
If Justin Jefferson didn't fumble, Cousins would have had better fantasy numbers, but I'm guessing he didn't kill it.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Vikings tight end did very well because I had to go against them in fantasy and I got my ass whooped. So clearly they did something right on that Thursday night. Jesus.
Deshaun Watson just made a pretty good play to put them in a first down. They are still up by 3, 6:35 left in this third quarter here on a very exciting game. Arun, I'll let you give any other final thoughts. I know you've had a long day. So, Arun, any thoughts you want to share with us? I'm just so happy to have our NBA roundtable. I know we're not talking basketball today, but it's nice to see all of you guys again. We haven't seen each other since the playoffs last year, where all of us have been together.
Wizards playoffs. That was an amazing run.
Yeah.
Wizards draft playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, we did cover the rest of the NBA playoffs. But yeah, Arun, any final thoughts before we let you go?
No RG3 thoughts. I've been watching a lot of Gilbert Arenas stream since the off season, but maybe I'll start giving Gilbert Arenas updates. No more RG3 updates.
I'm okay with that. So yeah, it's a new era. But awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, especially after a loss and a busy day. And we'll definitely have you on to talk more of all sorts of different things, whether it be baseball or NFL and the Commanders, and hope that you have a good week.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Tim, I'm going to let you have your final thoughts as well.
Yeah, and then the real goodbye this time.
Yeah, exactly. The long goodbye.
No, it's a good time. I like the surprise visit from Arun at the end. Yeah, I hope the NFL. I'm glad the NFL games have been close, but I hope for some better quality games. It's getting better every week, but week 1 was pretty bad.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well,
yeah, it was good talking about it though.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy that you're able to join us. We were able to talk a little bit about the Orioles and the Ravens, and celebrate big wins or victory Monday for both of our teams. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
happy that the DMV is 4-0 so far, so I'll take it. So
Yeah, good start. Let's keep it
yeah,
going.
yeah, for sure. All right, well, have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you two guys. Bye.
All right, champ. I've already put up the No Spots podcast graphic that now appears automatically with exclamation point see No Spots, so you can see that in chat. It's cool that you can toggle these graphics live. All the mods can do it. Anybody can. Well, eventually, I might even do it, extend it to VIPs as well to help me out to make the graphics all good. But you had a great episode yesterday. I know you were filming during the game, so that's always rough, just because it was a crazy game. But let people know maybe two of the biggest stories in wrestling of the week, and then let them know what else they could find on the No Spots podcast and what you're going to be breaking down next week as well.
Well, one of the big stories of this week is Jay Cargill, who was originally passed over by the WWE back in 2019, who ended up signing with AEW. Her contract looks like it has expired, according to multiple reports, and that she is actually about to sign with WWE and become a part of WWE's main roster sooner rather than later. She had what was rumored to be her final match this past Friday, a shot at regaining the TBS championship that she won in a tournament and held on for 508 days, but she lost that match, and then she gave her opponent Chris Statlander, who's the champion, a handshake and an embrace in the middle of the ring to basically signify that she was leaving. So it's looking like she is WWE bound, so we'll keep an eye on that. The other big story was that CM Punk, 2 weeks after his being fired from AEW, sort of addressed that firing in vague comments during commentary for an MMA MMA event that he commentated on this past Friday. Like I said, the comments were very vague, but for those who are in the know, they kind of got what he was trying to say, but they were the comments were not the type of response that a lot of people were expecting from him. There were a lot of reports saying that he was going to come out with a very explosive response to his firing, but instead he made very vague and almost comedic comments regarding his firing from AEW for cause after a backstage incident in England almost 3 weeks ago. So those are some of the stories here. And upcoming for the No Spots podcast, this past week we did a retro rewind and talked about the big 5 pay-per-views of the year 2000. This week we're going to continue our retro rewind, and this time we're going to go back to what is Sith's favorite pay-per-view of all time, WCW Starrcade 1985, which I never got to watch it because I was 3 when that event happened, but he got to watch it live. So I'm going to get on Peacock and the WWE Network to watch it, and we're going to talk about the card itself, and we're going to also recap last weekend's Victory Road, a special event for Impact, which preceded their 1000th episode, which we talked about on this week's podcast. So all of that's happening. Plus, we're going to have all this recap of the week in wrestling and things like that. So make sure you check us out at twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod. We stream it live every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, after football is pretty much over. So if you want to get your fix of wrestling after a day of after 7 hours of football, you can come and check us out. And make sure you check out sportsothp.com and click the partners button to check out previous episodes of the podcast as well. So that's all I have for you when it comes to the wrestling.
Yeah, definitely go check out our Team Sports OTHP page. There's a lot of information, including Champ's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and other socials for the No Spots as well. I'm going to link it over here. This is the Team Sports OTHP link. You can click that one. It'll actually just open up a window, and it has all of our different hosts right there on it. But just go follow him on Twitch, too. You can catch it live or on our website, also on the podcast partners button. You can check out that, too. I'm so happy you brought up the CM Punk one. That was the one topic I wanted to talk to you about. Do you think he is going to go to the WWE? Will they want him back?
I mean, that is a very dicey situation because when he left the WWE back in 2014, it was under very contentious circumstances. It was the day after the Royal Rumble when he walked out, and he wasn't released until July of that year. And he received his notice of release on the day of his wedding. So it was a lot of contentious issues with that. He also went on Cole Cabana's podcast that he was doing at the time and really ripped into WWE in terms of their medical practices. So there were a lot of hurt feelings. One of the people that was still around when that happened was Triple H, who is currently head of creative for WWE. So there's no telling if there's still hurt feelings or if those feelings have kind of dissipated in the last 8-9 years since all of this happened. So that's a very dicey proposition to have him go back to there, especially given his age. He's in his mid-40s. You have a lot of younger people on the roster, and it will be hard to kind of integrate him into that roster and things of that nature. But there's an old saying, especially in wrestling, never say never. So I can't sit here and say he'll never go back to WWE, but it will be really, really hard for him to be brought back into that environment, especially given his exit from AEW and his tumultuous 2 years that he spent with AEW, which is WWE's direct rival, whether they want to address it or not.
Yeah, I just think he's still such a big name, and he's a crossover star in the sense that he's done, UFC and WWE. I would be interested to see if he comes on and maybe isn't an in-ring performer, but maybe an announcer or something. I could see him returning to that company in some sort of facet, maybe with him having to apologize for previous comments. I don't know, but I don't see someone like him just being out of the business, right? He's just too polarizing of a character.
Well, one of the comments that he made while he was doing commentary for that MMA event that he did last Friday, one of the things that he said was that he's free for the next 2 months, which, you automatically think that he currently has a non-compete with AEW, meaning he can't go to another wrestling company for the next 2 months, but that may not be the case. But either way, he's probably not hard up for money. I'm pretty sure he's been very well with his money. His wife has been working with Women of Wrestling, WOW, which has been broadcasted in syndicate all over the country. And so I'm pretty sure he's not hard up for money. So he really doesn't have to go back to the WWE, but he may want to go back just because he has that itch for wrestling. And that would be the only promotion that could afford to pay CM Punk the money to come in and wrestle, whereas like places like MLW or Impact definitely do not have the capital to pay a CM Punk to come in to wrestle, even though their schedules would be more favorable to him. I don't think they have the money to be able to pay him to come in and wrestle. So I think if he wants to stay in wrestling, WWE would be his only option. It's just the only thing would be, are there still hurt feelings there enough? Plus, what happened with him his 2 years in AEW? Would that be in a situation where he just couldn't go back?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they think it was a red flag. How many years has it been since he left WWE?
9. It's been over 9 years.
So that's a fair amount of time. So I could see, it's not like it was like 3 years ago or, so it's it'll be interesting to see how that has an impact on it. Well, I thank you for helping me break it down and talking, wrestling with me. I'm super interested in it. I watch lots of videos on social media to it. I don't have the time to actually be able to watch it because I'm watching so many DC sports and, 2 young kids, but I really rely on you and Sith and your podcast to keep me up on news, and I really appreciate that. And these updates weekly are always very helpful. So I hope that people who do enjoy wrestling do check out the No Spots podcast, as we talked about earlier. I think we are going to end the audio podcast for this, right now. And then I will go on a raid after that. But any final things you want on the audio podcast before we end that, champ?
No, just take command, hail to the Commanders, and wrestling is in a great place right now. So that's all I got to say. Thank you very much for having me on yet again as a co-host. I really had a great time. I can't wait for next week, where hopefully, even though I did pick the Buffalo Bills in our pick'em, hopefully we talk about a 3-0 start for the Commanders next week. Yo quinqueño, sayonara.
Thank you so much. Yes, I hope that everyone tunes in. That'll be episode 314, maybe Carol sighting. We'll see. A lot of the same guys who are on tonight hopefully will be back next week. I really appreciate everyone for tuning in. Again, the podcast is on all platforms. You can give us a like or a comment on our YouTube channel. That would be great, especially if you could subscribe. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers on the YouTube channel as well. So I will split this video up into VODs. It'll be on our Twitch channel. It'll be on all those things. So we'll see you next week. I'm going to end the audio recording there.
Recording stopped.
And I'm going to end our Facebook Live as well. So thank you for joining us live on Facebook, and we'll talk to you next week there as well. Let's go Washington. And with that, I think we are out on all streaming platforms except for Twitch and on our YouTube VODs later. We're going to find a place to raid. I think I'm going to raid a place that I actually mod at, which is the Stream Scribe. I've always wanted to raid him. He just started streaming at this time. He's the person who actually did the graphics. I'm going to show you what that one looks like real quickly. But he came on and he made this really cool, let me see if this works. Undo it. There we go. So you can see that is, he did some great letter art. He does some great letter artwork. I'm a mod over there. I've been doing some of these cool trigger fire effects that we've been testing tonight. People can use different special effects. I'll show you what they look like real quickly here, including if you want to light us on fire. And the other thing that people can do is they can evolve a Pokemon. And so it's something fun that they can add that doesn't necessarily affect the live stream over on Facebook or on Carol's stream, but something a little extra for people who are live here on Twitch. So I appreciate the fact that those are now working. We'll also have goals and other effects happening when the hockey season starts, and maybe even if we win in a basketball game, maybe some explosions or other stuff. So I'm working on those special effects right now, and I've been working on adding those to Carlo's stream. Do I have a Dr. Booty Quiver just raided my first raid in 4 months is going to happen as we're about to raid out. But I'm super excited. Thank you, Dr. Booty Quiver. I'll stay here for just a second and welcome the raiders. I hope that you had an awesome stream. The Booty Quiver, it plays music. He's a pretty silly guy. We're friends because I'm out over at Primordial Sounds, and he hangs out over there a lot. Andy is welcoming Raiders. We're just talking about Andy. So thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate that so much. DJ Jesus. So I appreciate that. You had a good time. I'm happy that you had a good stream over there. Yeah, welcome on in. We're actually gonna take this raid train and we're gonna go join our friend the Stream Scribe. We just finished the podcast. It was a great episode. Champ was on live. We were talking wrestling. We talked about all sorts of sports, football, soccer, and even in WNBA and some basketball as well. But I really appreciate the people for tuning in. It's actually going to make this raid that we're going to go over to the Stream Scribe a little bit even better. So I really hope that you guys are in for an awesome treat. He's a great graphic artist. Let me do a shout out for the Stream Scribe. Nice. Thank you for following Dobity Beebita Bobbity Boop Bop Beep Bop, I think. So I appreciate that. We're already at 635 followers, so that's great. So if you guys are joining me, we take this train over. You can grab a raid or a sub raid call. We do have a sub goal that we're trying to hit 20 by the end of the month. I do lots of emote art. If you give a 5-pack of subs, I'll design you an emote as well. And we're going to update 3 of our big graphics on this stream if we do hit that 20 goal by the end of the month. But we will head over to the stream scribe right now. So grab a raid call. And I really do appreciate you joining me, Dr. Ruby Quiver. I'm sorry that it's at the end of the show. I don't have anything more. We have been live for 2 hours now. I hope that everyone joins us over at the Stream Scribe. He's a really great. I highly encourage people to join us for that. And yeah, it was a really fun stream. And thank you again for the raid. I haven't had a raid in a very long time, and especially from somebody that's new. And so we're gonna raid over there right now. Grab a raid call. And yeah, I'm happy you were able to talk about it as well. We catch Pokemon here in chat. We talk about different things in chat while I'm talking sports on my live podcast. I also sometimes do art streams. I love how the new follower, it doesn't fit in my box. I never expected that many characters. Yeah, I really appreciate everyone for following and joining, and we are going to have a good time over at the Stream Scribe. I really love modding over there. I love modding for Champ. Remember, Champ is still here. A shout out to him. Go check out the True No Spots podcast as well. So I'm going to head over to the Scribe right now.